Welcome back to the Standing Room Only podcast, episode 95. NBA season has officially started. Game one has been through three quarters as soon as we launched this recording. Bucks and Nets. We're going to go over our preseason, technically predictions for the year. Going to give our seedings, just 1 through 8. We are not going to go to 10. That's too many teams, and we're pretty much just going to list the best, like pretty much guaranteed playoff spots from guys or from teams. Finals predictions, our champion, and our MVP. We also have some baseball playoff talk. Need to talk about the Giants and Dodgers that finished up last week. And then 3 games into both the AL and NLCS. 3.5 for the ALCS. And then some football talk to round it out. Going to be a good episode today. As always, you can follow us on social media at SROnlyPod. You can follow our personal pages. Mine is at the Healy6.
I am iGoose with 4 O's. Go ahead, hit that follow button. Let's talk sports. We have probably the most exciting episode of the season. As we know, October is filled with everything. Football, mid-season practically. We have baseball, NLCS, ALCS, as Healy said, and basketball. Healy, with all that happening right now, what topic do you want to start off with?
Man, let's go through baseball and football first.
Okay. We'll save the good. We'll save the
Because the
goods for the
people that
last.
aren't as interested in basketball, we're going to be talking about for a while. So let's just knock it out of the way first. Start off with baseball. What a call to end the Giants season. The check swing wasn't even close to being a check swing.
Horrible. You can't end a series on that. You can't end a game on that in the playoffs.
With the CBA being up this offseason, I think that for sure the players in the league, they should make it so that they should make it so pretty much anything can be challenged with the replay.
I agree. I think that in a challenge, and I know baseball, it's tough. I feel like they don't overturn as many as we'd like to see, but I do think in this situation, it's clear as day from every angle above the home plate, from the pitcher's view, from the batter's view, third base view. It was a check swing, and a challenge is needed in that situation. And I know that there's rules on how many challenges a team can get, as we see in other sports. But this has got to be one of those where if it's the end of the game, if it's the ninth inning, it should be like just an automatic review. If you have to call down to first or third base, automatic review. Because that essentially is the reason why the Dodgers are now in the next round. Not saying they couldn't have won the game, regardless. But it makes a huge difference, especially with the Giants, who would have got game. Who knows what would have happened at the? I mean, that would have been a walk if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there
So,
was. Well, to be honest, I think he was going to strike out anyways. Wilmer Flores. He was already 0 for 2, 0-2 in the count. Would have made it 1-2, and he never got a hit off of Kenley Jansen, wherever closed out the game. So more than likely than not, but still, you can't let an umpire determine a game like that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, especially to end a great and one of the best seasons we've seen from a team that realistically was, I think, predicted maybe last place going into the season. I saw somebody.
Yeah, like at least
one of the
fourth.
Shout out to the guy that I saw on BR Bets for his ticket. He bet for them to make the playoffs, to win the division, to make the NLCS, and to win the World Series. And I think he would have cashed like over $500,000, and he only put a couple grand down. So shout out to him for even having balls of steel to do that, because realistically, this team could have competed against any team in the World Series. So, and I honestly, I think that they're going to come back even, just as strong next year. I don't know if they'll have the same year because of how great it was. But for me, being a Giants teammate, player, manager, I'm playing next season with a chip on my shoulder, knowing how this season ended.
So with that, it made a Giants, Dodgers, Braves, NLCS, and then we have the Red Sox and the Astros and the ALCS. Almost a 3-0 lead for the Braves today. They ended up fumbling the 8th inning. It's now 2-1 in that series. The Dodgers, they lost both games on the road. They won their game at home. They still have 2 more games at home. I still am leaning uh Dodgers in this.
Yeah, yeah. I turned off the game in the 8th inning. Ironically, uh, Atlanta was up, and I thought it was over. I thought, you know what? The Dodgers just lost momentum for some reason. Cody Bellinger obviously hit that 3-run shot to tie it at 5 in the was at the bottom of the 8th. Ended up winning the
Yes.
game. Ended up winning the game by 1 run. My biggest thing was, and I'm still biased. I don't know why I'm so biased for Atlanta teams, the Braves and the Hawks, but I really wanted to see Atlanta win, especially pull it off with one of their best players out of the lineup due to injury. And Ronald Acuna, and we talked about it last week, but I said if they go up 3-0, and anybody's gonna agree with me, it's almost a given. They gotta win one out of the next 4 games. They should. Not necessarily because again, it's the Dodgers. Their offense is incredible. The pitching's good. But the fact that the Dodgers did win this game, I think that now it's the Dodgers series. I don't see how they wouldn't be favorited to take the series and go to the World Series. Being down 1 game means nothing for them at this point. 3 games would have been a big deal. 1 game, not a big deal.
Yeah. ALCS, the Astros won game 1. Red Sox have dominated since. They had 3 grand slams in an 11-inning span, tied for the most in a postseason. So between 2 games, they had 3 grand slams. In game 2, they had 2 grand slams in the first 2 innings.
Mm-hmm.
Dominated. The Astros pitching is showing that they are pretty weak. Also, the Red Sox lineup matching up with the Astros. There was a report that the Astros may have been tipping pitches. It is 2-1 this game. Maybe they found out what it was, but they got smacked around the past couple games for that.
Oh man. Well, all I know is Boston is showing up. I know we talked about it. We said it's going to be a high scoring series because Astros pitching is pretty okay, but the White Sox were hitting them. They just weren't hitting them for anything more than just singles. It was just like a contact series for them. I'm glad the White Sox didn't make it because I feel like they would have been getting destroyed by the Red Sox also. The Red Sox bats have been on. JD Martinez did he hit the grand slam yesterday? He hit one
Yes,
yesterday. He did. Kyle Schwarber's hit one. I don't even remember who hit the other one. Kike Hernandez is having the
I think he
best
hit
series.
one.
Did he? He's having the best series in his career so far, especially playoff career. Better than when
Yeah.
he was with the Dodgers. I'm really, really, really a big fan of the Red Sox right now. And again, nothing to do with the Astros. They're a fun team to watch as well. This is a very good series. Offensive power. Uh, if Boston obviously wins this game, they'll be up 3-1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
At that point, I would consider them on their way to the World Series. If the Astros pull this off, it's still a toss up. I can't just give it to the Astros. I still think Boston is my favorite, but again, it comes down to that pitching. Who's going to show up in the next couple of games?
I The Red Sox have proved me wrong in the playoffs so far. I thought they were going to lose to the Yankees. I didn't think they were going to get anywhere.
Everybody did.
Like they
Ev-
fell off. They were hot and then they fell off at the end of the season. I was like, they didn't make enough moves. Their lineup has just been on fire. Next episode will be in the World Series schedule for the season. The World Series begins Tuesday, October 26th. So next Tuesday will be game one of the World Series. Good. We're going to be recording our episode right when that happens. And I guess we could kind of give our thoughts of the World then.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's gonna be a good one. It'll be definitely a fun series to watch. Regardless of who makes it in the NL, I know the thought of Atlanta being in it compared to the Dodgers doesn't seem as fun, but Atlanta is a fun team to watch. They will be fun if they end up making it. I don't think they will. I do think the Dodgers are gonna take it, but it'll be a fun World Series regardless.
A bunch of scrappy guys, and who knows if they would have been in the spot if it wasn't for Acuna getting hurt. I don't know
Yeah,
if I mentioned this on the podcast before, but they might not have traded for all four outfielders that they went after.
yeah, they got
They got him
Soler,
for free,
Duvall, Jock. Yeah, yep.
and Eddie Rosario
Eddie Rosario
for
too. Yeah,
nothing.
yeah. On top of the other bats that they already have in the infield. So
Mhm. That's the baseball news. In football, Aaron Rodgers showed that he still has a second home in Chicago.
as in
As
quote unquote, he still owns them. I own you. I still own you. He said, he exclaimed. I had no idea what he said to the fans during that touchdown. I just was like, wow, he's still very good at running. Like he knows he's running and he knows that pump fake's going to work every time. Scored the touchdown and that was it.
yeah, and I don't even think he had that great of a game,
He
statistic wise. But they
Yeah, he
they
didn't put up a lot of yards. He had a really high completion rating, which was good. The Bears defense, and this has been the tale of the Bears tape for I don't know how many seasons in a row, but mainly this season so far, I'm going to speak on. Every game they've played, the defense has been showing up. They finally have an offense that's allowing them to come off the field, give them a little bit of rest so they can continue. But there was a couple misplays in this game. Justin Fields threw an interception in the I believe the second or third quarter. I don't remember what it was. He drew the line off sides, and it was really hard to tell during the replay whether or not he got a good jump or not. The defensive lineman, Justin Fields, thought he had a free play. So what do you do naturally when you have a free
you
play?
just throw it.
You throw it up. Rodgers generally throws it to his own team. Fields threw it to the back of the end zone just because. Which, whatever, free play, right? No flag was thrown. Rookie mistake. He did not know if there was a flag or not. And it got intercepted. The turnover ends up turning into the Bears not scoring because they were driving. And Green Bay turns around and they score, which was a huge momentum shift. And I think that was the big shift in the game. There was a couple plays. Actually, the Bears I thought played well in the first half, and even the third string or fourth string running back at this point, I don't even know, Khalil Herbert, the rookie.
Yep.
He looks damn good. Not saying the Packers' run defense is great. They've been solid this year. He's just very elusive. He's very shifty. He's running right, all of a sudden he's running left. You don't see that out of a lot of a lot of backups at least. Um, I, it's tough. It's tough to be a Bears fan. To be fair, if they would have won, they would have been in first place. I still think that they will contend. I think that they should be a playoff team. Fields is learning and developing week over week. Defense looks good. They hit Rodgers multiple times. Khalil Mack had a sack. Roquan Smith. Robert Quinn may have gotten in there. It's just at the end of the day, those little mistakes Rodgers will make you pay for. And that's why they are the best in the conference. One of the best. I'm not going to say the best because the Bucks, but they're arguably one of the best.
The Bears did have 3 sacks.
Mainly I think it was all in the first half. The Bears, just like against Cleveland, I thought the Bears were going to pull that game off against Cleveland weeks ago, but the offense couldn't produce. Kept the defense on the field. They get fatigued. Kareem Hunt does his thing, and Nick Chubb does his thing, and it's just, I mean, that's the nature of the beast right there. If your offense isn't producing, defense will eventually get fatigued.
Baltimore dominated the Chargers. Lamar Jackson's been having another
Wow.
great season with the Ravens.
To me, that Ravens team is lackluster, but and a lot of people might disagree. I think he is it. I think Lamar Jackson is it. I'm not going to say talent-wise he's better than Rodgers, Brady, Justin Herbert, a lot of these guys that are putting up the numbers. He's just a playmaker. He plays to win the football. And considering their defense has been so hot and cold this year, the pass defense has been mediocre. The fact that they shut down the Chargers on the defensive side was huge because their offense has been so dominant, especially putting up 40-something points against the Browns, which the Browns defense has been pretty good. So if you get this Ravens defense doing their job, doing okay enough, Lamar Jackson's going to continue to thrive. I like the Ravens. I like the Ravens. I don't think they're going to contend for the Super Bowl. I think they will be very competitive and give many of the good teams a run for their money. And they could win. I still don't think that they are the best in the AFC. I think you still have the Bills. I think the Chiefs, if they can somehow start clicking again, stop turning the ball over. It's nuts how much they're turning the football over. I think that they are better than the Ravens. But Ravens will compete every week.
Bills lost 34-31.
Yeah.
That was surprising.
To the Titans. You know what? Derrick Henry might be the best running back we've ever got to witness. I know that there's been some great running backs, and I know it's early in his career. To me, scientifically, if we're going to speak scientifical facts, he should not be running through defenses the way he is when it comes to the NFL. He shouldn't be as fast as he is. And I understand that they have a pretty good offensive line, but once he gets past the front line of any team, nobody can tackle him. And it's almost like I'm trying to think of a running back that's comparable. How big is I'm trying to think, is Cordero Patterson like his size? He was a receiver. He's got to be tall. He seems like he's got some weight on him because he's now in the backfield for Atlanta doing a lot. I can't think of another running back of his stature, his size, his physical ability, his strength, his speed, who can do that night in and night out, no matter who the defense is, especially Buffalo, whose defense, there's 3 shutouts on the season in the NFL. 3. 2 were from Buffalo's defense. Buffalo's defense has been locked down. They can give up some big plays here and there, sure. They shut down Mahomes and the Chiefs. They've shut out 2 other teams. The Titans win, and I'm not going to say it's all Derrick Henry because that whole offense is talented. But Derrick Henry is that good to where, look how far they gotten in the playoffs last year based on him running how many 200-yard games, and the defense did just enough. Clock management. It's great.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised to see them win because I feel like the Bills are kind of the team to beat right now,
They still are. Yeah,
even with that loss.
yeah, they're going to lose a few games. They're going to lose 3-4 games on the season, but I I feel like they're so OP'd. Josh Allen's obviously getting better. Stephon Diggs, their receiving core is nuts. Emmanuel Sanders seems to be getting better with every team he jumps to. You add Dawson Knox, the tight end, looks pretty damn good. Cole Beasley. I mean, they're talented. And the defense, obviously. We already know that the defense has been the Bills' secret formula for how many years to give them that push into the playoffs and, leading towards the top of that division. Now they are the top dog, obviously, and have been the last couple of years. But with this offense getting better, I think they're one of the scariest teams we've seen. I don't even think the Chiefs ever had a defense this good, but I would say the Bills' offense is almost getting to the level of what the Chiefs have been the last couple of seasons, personally.
Okay. America's team won against New England. It's kind of funny how do we still consider New England kind of America's team as well? Or it has was that Tom Brady? I feel like a lot of
That's
people
that's
migrated to
Brady.
I feel like a lot of people migrated to the Bucks.
It's all Brady. It's maybe it was the duo for a little bit of Brady and Belichick, but I think it's all Brady. Because even I'm like, I get excited to watch a Bucks game. I get excited to watch a Bucks game. Cowboys though, I guess that's America. That has always been
Well,
America's
that's
teams
the
from the
like,
90s.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's their thing.
I Dak Prescott's good. I like Dak. When we started this podcast, I said don't give him 40 mil. I said he does not deserve 40 million. He's actually pretty damn good. And I think he's well deserved his contract. CD Lamb catching that game winning touchdown. Gotta give credit to Mac Jones. Mac Jones, the defense of the Patriots did what they could. They have a solid defense. Mac Jones being a rookie, it's like he's fit for this Patriots offense. He's not an explosive quarterback. His completion rating is through the roof. He'll have some mistakes here and there. He's a rookie quarterback. He's allowed to have those. He's allowed to have those for a while. But, I mean, for them to compete week in, week out, they could potentially end up being a wild card team. It's a longer season. It was a good game. It was a very good game. The Jaguars won their first game in 22 games or something crazy.
Mhm.
Broke the streak. Hey, once Trevor Lawrence
In
starts winning
London,
in London, it was who did they face? Was that Miami? That was Miami.
Miami, yeah.
Tua's back. It was a good game. The Browns, they're hurt. Baker
I think
Mayfield.
he tore his labrum or something.
Yeah, I don't he said as I think it was today or yesterday, he plans on playing their game Thursday, but I don't think that's going to be the case. If he has anything torn or if he actually did dislocate his shoulder, I don't think he did. I think that was just discussed when he got hurt. But it looks like he got in a limited practice today. I don't see him playing Thursday, especially against a tough Denver team. I think you got to let him rest. They still, I mean, they have a chance to end up taking the division still. It's Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Who else is in
Ravens.
that? Baltimore. It'll be tough, but I think you got to sit him. And then Kareem Hunt is on the IR. He is also hurt. So he'll be missing. I think he's on the 3-week or there's like the new IR over the
I think
last
it's
couple
like 2
seasons.
weeks.
Yeah, so he'll be gone. Hopefully Nick Chubb is back. If not, they have two other running backs that are gonna fill in just fine. Dearness Johnson and it's like Hilton. I can't remember the other guy. So they're beat up a little bit, and they're gonna have a tough time against Denver's defense. They are very tough, and their offense actually is a very quiet, talented offense. They have some talent there.
Besides that, I don't think there's much more to talk about in the NFL.
No, there wasn't really
Trades.
much going on besides that. I think the biggest thing was, for us at least, Bears, Packers still dominating the Bears. Um, that's pretty much it. Cardinals are still undefeated. I
Is
think
it
it's time.
basketball time?
It's time. Drum roll, please.
Okay.
So, going into this, myself and Healy, we were talking. We always give predictions, as you guys know, if you guys are advocate listeners. Before a season starts, we like to give our bold predictions. Our bold predictions generally are division winners. We're not going to do division. We're going to do conference. We do top 8 each conference, East. Then we'll talk about the West. And in this case, we'll give our finals matchup. We're not going to do playoff brackets. We'll do that at the end of the season when we know what the playoffs are. And we're also going to do mid-season awards. That's when we'll talk about most improved. We'll talk about possibly coach of the year. And maybe we'll give a change to our MVPs, which, of course, that can always change. So with that being said, season started tonight. Actually, we already have one game almost done. We are recording. It's Tuesday night for us. We have Brooklyn and Milwaukee. Milwaukee looks like they're going to pull away with a victory. They have a commanding lead, 3 minutes left, fourth quarter. They're up 115 to 101. So they're starting off the season with a very hot, I would say. It's a big victory. And then later on today, we have the Warriors and Lakers, which would be a fun game to watch. But that being said, because the East started off the season, Healy, I want to give you the mic, the carpet. Give me your top 8 for the Eastern Conference.
Okay. So my 1 and 2 flipped because of this game happening tonight.
Me too.
I have the Bucks at number 1. Giannis is looking amazing, and also in the preseason, he's taking jump shots more. He's hitting them. First possession tonight, or like early on, he hit a 3. He's
Big
gonna get more comfortable shooting them and be better shooting them as he puts them up. And they didn't really lose anyone. The Bucks are still that solid defensive team that we saw last year. They made a couple signings. They did lose PJ Tucker, which hurt, but Grayson Allen was a solid under the
Huge.
radar pickup.
I
They
think
just
that's
extended him
huge.
too.
Yep, they did.
And Giannis, he's just gonna have an incredible. This team, also they're playing. The Bulls aren't that weak anymore, but they could still beat the Bulls. They have the Pistons that they can beat up on. They have the Pacers that they can beat up on. They have the Cavaliers they can beat up on. There's too many teams that they play a lot in which that will help their record out in the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's just go 1 through 8 and we'll go back and forth for every
Okay.
season.
Milwaukee's my number 1. I mean,
Okay.
you hit it on the head. I just don't. In a weird way, I feel like we haven't. We're hitting the beginning stages of Giannis's prime. As you mentioned,
Which
he
is
hit a
crazy
3
to think
earlier.
about.
What's scary? The scariest thing to me, and I'm just throwing this out there. If Giannis does actually develop a 3-point shot where he's even shooting 30%, I would say is okay, right? 30%, 40% you're good, 30% you're okay. We can rely on you to hit a couple threes. I think if he gets to that point, we might be looking at one of the best athletes we've ever seen play the game. And I'm you know me, I'm firm on LeBron. I'm firm on LeBron, Michael, Magic, like those guys as being the best, the pioneers. But we've never seen this. We're taking Shaq coming out of LSU when Shaq was slimmer when he first joined the league, right? Except better playmaking. Inside presence is as good. He's gonna grab as many rebounds. His defense is as good. But now you're gonna add a 3-point shot, and in mid-range, he's actually not bad. I wouldn't say he's bad mid-range.
And he gets from half court to the underneath the basket in 2 steps.
3 steps, and it's and you add the other guys around him. Obviously, they won the finals for a reason. They were a legit team in the finals, unlike Phoenix. We won't see Phoenix in the finals. Not to ruin my top 8 seed, they are going to be in the playoffs, but to me, the Bucks only got better. PJ Tucker, yeah, he was all right defensively, but I like Grayson Allen. I think Grayson Allen is a great spot-up shooter. He shot horrible today, 3 of 10 from 3. You won't get that every week, but you still have Middleton, you still have Drew Holiday, those key big 3, and you have the guys around them. So I think that they're going to be good, and eventually they'll be getting DiVincenzo back. I don't know what his return date is, but I assume he'll be back this season, and he's going to help that defense as well. So Milwaukee is my number 1. And as you said, I don't know about you, you said you swapped. Brooklyn's my number 2 right now.
Yes, Brooklyn's number 2 as well.
We're going into this assuming Kyrie is not playing this year.
Even with him playing, I still think they're going to finish number.
It would be closer though. It would at least be closer because I mean, having Kyrie I know a lot of people, they can hate on him, but he's an X factor. I do think that Brooklyn, it would be a closer push for the first seed, but well, for what it's worth, I mean, I got Brooklyn number 2. I still think Kevin Durant's going to put up his 30 something a game. You're going to get James Harden, who probably will put up good points. I feel like he will take the back seat for scoring. In return, he will get a lot of assists like he normally does. You'll see him grab boards. I think the biggest thing for them is, what is the supporting cast going to do? Just to note, Patty Mills scored 21 points off the bench today. He shot 7 of 11 from the field, 7 of 7 from 3. That's going to be big when it comes down to a series. Keep that in mind. Patty Mills in a 7-game series is going to be, because he's been in the league for a while, to me, he's going to have that Ray Allen factor like when he was with Miami. So that could be a factor in the playoffs. We'll see how it goes. A couple other guys, Joe Harris, he's pretty good. They're number 2 for me, simply because they still have Durant, they still have James Harden, who are 2 of the best in the game.
Yeah, number 2 for me. I feel like they are going to be a little streaky here and there, and they're going to finish up top, of course, number 2, but their division, they have a lot of decent teams in it, and because they're going to be all beating up on each other, I just think the Bucks take the one over them. 3 seed. I wonder if we are both gonna guess. We have a weird way of predictions where we don't talk about them at all. Yet we have the same teams and like players every single time. I'm
This
going
would
with
be crazier because you're going 8-8. This is crazier. So we'll see what you say for 3.
I'm going the Hawks. Number 3.
Oh, that's a good pick. I like your pick.
Okay.
I
know you're in Atlanta. You lean Atlanta sometimes, so I was like,
I do.
I wonder if you take the leap this year.
I have a reason why I didn't go Atlanta 3. I actually was going to, but give me your reason on your 3, and I'll give a reason on my 3.
Okay. I just think from the playoffs last year, that team looked more complete than I thought it was.
Yeah.
When in the last season, Trae Young, another year older, John Collins, going to play well. Cam Reddish is going to be back and playing.
Yeah.
Hopefully Bogdan plays well this season. They have a good supporting cast with that team. I just feel like their formula and them showing the world that they could beat teams like a Giannis Bucks team and make them go deep into a series, that they are going to finish top 4 this season.
I cannot discredit your analysis on this Atlanta. I think Atlanta is incredible. I think Atlanta is, I mean, you know me, I was all aboard. I knew Atlanta was going to beat the Knicks. I was happy when they beat the Sixers. I didn't know how that series was going to turn out. I agree with you. I think that Trae Young being the scorer that he is and the facilitator, and it's not just Cam Reddish that they're going to have back. DeAndre Hunter missed a lot of games last year. DeAndre Hunter's going to get a lot of playing time. They have a lot of weapons, not just offensively, but defensively. Some of these guys are pretty solid. But I decided after really looking at the breakdown of this team that they have to be the number 3. It's going to be the only team that can slow down teams' offenses, and it's Miami. I'm going Miami. They were in the finals 2 years ago. Their team is, I would say their team's pretty stacked. I like Kyle Lowry. I'm not sold on Kyle Lowry. I don't think Kyle Lowry was the reason they won a championship ever. But I do think that he's that veteran that still might have some left in the tank to help. I think he's better than Dragic and Kendrick Nunn. Let's put it that way. And I thought those guys were good, but they just didn't have it for this team.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I am going Miami. Jimmy Butler, I think, missed like 10 games last season, and they still won over 40 games in a shortened season. So I think they will push the 50-game win mark. They got Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. They did get PJ Tucker. This defense is going to be good. And let's not forget, if they allow these guys to shoot, which they will, either Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero, whether if it's alternating games, same games, we're going to expect a potential splash brothers, which Hero, I'm still waiting. I think we're all still waiting for Tyler Hero because in the playoffs a couple years ago in the bubble, he played excellent. And then last season, you're like, where are you? Like, he had some good games, but he wasn't quite there. But I think his ceiling is super high. I think Miami, with the defense that they have and the offense capabilities, they're my number 3. And it's tough because my 3, 4, 5 are going to be separated by a game max.
Okay. Who's your number 4?
So my number 4 is, I did throw the fan cap on. I'm going with the Bulls. I'm going with the Bulls simply because we don't know what we're going to get from this big 3, big 4, whatever you want to call it. But and I'm not sold. Everybody's sold on the whole they want undefeated in the preseason. Yeah, they played a lot of guys where, like the Pelicans, we didn't see Zion. They played them, I think, twice. There is the Cavs, who are the Cavs. They haven't developed their DNA yet. We don't know what their genetic makeup is. They don't know what their genetic makeup is. I do think the Bulls are going to play extremely well. The experts in Vegas are giving them like 42.5 or 43.5 wins on the season. I think given the fact that Zach LaVine missed a lot of games last year, like during a stretch for COVID. Kobe White is going to be coming off the bench, which I think is better for not only the Bulls, but for him as well. Vucevic is getting a full season with LaVine. Pat Williams is back, who looks good. He looks really well. He's a better three-point shooter than I think we thought he would be. And then you add in DeRozan and Lonzo, and all these guys are veterans. I would consider Lonzo at this point being a veteran in the league. He played with LA for a few years. He did his New Orleans stint. DeMar DeRozan has, I don't know how many years left, but I would consider him at the bottom of his peak.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the Bulls, for the same reason that Milwaukee's the number 1 seed, the Bulls will be the number 4 seed. In the Central Division, they can beat up on every team except for Milwaukee.
And they could probably steal a game or two and even up that series against Milwaukee.
It's it's all about, for me, I don't think it's going to come down to who's better. I think it's going to be who comes out with a better matchup.
Yeah.
Giannis, is it going to be Vooch? Is it going to be, it all depends on that matchup.
My number 4 is the Heat. I think they're pretty
so
solid.
Swapped. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Somewhat. Yeah, I picked the Hawks. Number 3. The number 4, I picked the Heat. I think they're a strong enough team. I saw their defense. I just felt like, I don't know. I saw a bunch of people before the season. They're like, the Heat are top 3 team. Like they're guaranteed. And I was like, I don't know. But like looking into it, I feel like they're going to be top 4 minimum. And I think 4 is a good spot. I feel like the playoffs this year are going to be way closer. Besides the play-in teams, the 9th and 10th seeds, I don't see any team finishing below 500 making the playoffs.
For the playoffs?
Yeah.
I agree.
Like the East the top teams are heavy. The top half is very strong. The worst teams are there as well, but like it's tough. And
I have a team that's been on my mind, and I'll say it at the end of our predictions, that I'm like, I want to put them on the list so bad. But that's how good the league has gotten. In personal opinion, I think the league is starting to become the best we've seen competition-wise for all teams in the playoffs that we've seen in a while. Normally, remember when the West used to be 1 through 8 was like
50 wins or more?
So competitive. Yeah, like 7 and 8 you'd get like, okay, in the 40, like just over 500. But the 1 through 6 were like so close. And then the East, it was like, oh, top 4 and then everybody else. Now the East, for me, top 8 is going to be fun. Same thing with the West. Top 8 is going to be fun. To me, the league is getting more competitive around the whole league versus just a few teams. Even though, yeah, we see a lot of guys jumping ship and joining each other, but to me, it's making the league better because now we're seeing a lot of teams actually having this 1 and 2 All-Stars minimum. So that's just my little side rant for this, but yeah, so you have Miami at number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay. I think
And then
yeah, it's hard to say. I we'll see what ends up happening. To me, the biggest thing is assuming everybody is healthy the whole season. That's
yes.
how I'm looking at this.
Yeah, injuries are going to change drastically the
Absolutely.
seedings. My number 5, I just changed it because I feel like this team, with what's going on, might not finish as high. I want Bulls number 5. Their starting lineup, as you mentioned, is up there. It's just, is their bench and their role players going to step up? But seeing Kobe
Yeah.
White as a role player this year, great.
Hmm.
Caruso, playmaker, good on defense, coming off the bench,
I forgot
great.
about him. I forgot about him. I think the
Like,
biggest thing is going to be like you mentioned. Who else coming off the bench is it going to be Tony Bradley? He didn't look very. I he didn't look
who's
as
going to fill in for the
athletic as I
big guy?
thought he was. Yeah. What Marco? Maybe. Who else do we have on the bench? Oh, um, Troy Brown Jr. shot very well in the preseason. I think he'll be good off the bench too. He'll play the 2 guard or the 3. He'll slide to the 3 probably. But again, these aren't it all. I think it's going to be situational. I think we're going to see a lot of the mix and match. We'll see Caruso running with the starting guys. We'll have some of the starters running with the bench. I think you got to mix and match it very well, and I think our coaching staff is going to be able to do that.
Yeah, with how good the guys are in the lineup, it's kind of like the Nets last year. Not,
Mhm.
don't take this comparison exactly. But when you have Kyrie, James Harden, and Durant, you could have 2 on the court at all times. You could have 1 on the court at all times. That's how it will
Yeah,
be with this lineup. You
yeah,
have you're going to have someone on the court at all times that will make an impact. It's not going to get to a point where, like, man, our 2 guys are off the floor or they're separated because one guy needs break and then the other guy needs a break, and they work well together, but separated they just don't.
yeah. No, I completely agree. It's all gonna be come down to the situation. And the same thing, I think it's gonna be the same thing for my 3. This is why I said my 3, 4, and 5 are gonna be separated by like a game to 2 games, all of them. So you have Bulls at 5. My 5th spot is Atlanta. Not for any reason am I putting them 5 instead of 4 or 3. I am sold on Atlanta. I think in a series they're very dangerous. I love watching them play. I'm a huge fan of Trae Young, John Collins, that duo, and the rest. And the rest. Um, I'm putting them at 5 only because a few different reasons. So I guess 5 isn't bad. 5 to me is still good. But they are in a division with Miami. So they are going to go back and forth. If they can end up taking care of Miami, I can easily see them being a 4th seed. It's just I still have to wait and see how the supporting cast does. Trae Young has the potential to do it, but Trae Young had an incredible playoff run to where if he ends up doing this, and it's possible. Why? Because, well, there's been guys like Steph Curry. There's been guys like Steph Curry was one of the big ones recently where he was such a playmaker night in and night out, doing crazy stuff to even the Clippers who were so good a few years back. That Trae Young has the potential to have that Steph Curry effect. But we'll see what he does. There's a lot of rule changes with drawing fouls that we've seen in preseason. Trae Young goes to the line a lot. Is he going to go to the line as much now? I still think he will because he gets it going to the hoop. But again, I can't take away saying that they are better than Miami or the Bulls. Miami, Bulls, and Atlanta to me are 3, 4, 5, regardless of how you order it. 1 game to 2 game separation. It's tough. It's tough. But that's my 5th seed. My 6th seed. I still think this team. Now, this one, hear me out here. Again, we're assuming that this guy is not on the team. He's not going to play. Yes, it's Ben Simmons and the 76ers. I think that they still are talented enough, if healthy, to do damage in the East. I think Joel Embiid. You had Joel Embiid. You have Tobias Harris, who I know some people, they're like, overpaid, doesn't do it. To me, more games than not, he's going to be consistent. He's going to put up your 20, 25 points. He's going to rebound. He's going to assist. He's going to defend. You add Seth Curry to the mix. You have Danny Green. You have the shooters. I think they still have what it takes to contend. They have Andre Drummond that they just picked up, who I assume is coming off the bench. Tyrese Maxey. They have other guys too that might fill in. I think that they are a 6-seeded team. And if Ben Simmons does end up coming back, that might boost them up a little bit, maybe a seed or two, because Ben Simmons, I still think, is an X factor. No matter where he goes, his defensive presence is still massive, massive. His offense sucks, but he randomly will have good nights. So Sixers are my 6th seed.
I have the Celtics at
I like
6. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, you know the deal with them. They're still a very solid team. They made the playoffs last year. I did swap the Bulls with the Sixers in my prediction. Well, I was debating just moving the Celtics and Sixers down a spot. I decided to move the Sixers down a couple, but Celtics, number 6. They did lose Kemba, but didn't really mesh well in Boston. And
they have issues with point guards, I noticed.
I don't know why. Is it because Jaylen and Tatum, do they hold the ball more?
Yeah, I don't think they have your traditional point guard. I think it's basically like Jason Tatum. They
And the guys that
Kemba,
they've had need the ball to like facilitate and whatnot, and they need a guy who could like kind of be there and make plays and shoot, spot up shoot.
yeah, Kemba's gonna do well. I think Kemba's gonna do good things in New York, better than what he could have done in Boston. Definitely, Boston's got a good team. Boston has if you look at their roster right now, there's a few notable guys on that lineup. So I have Boston 7. Boston's my 7. They're a playoff team. I think the biggest thing is Dennis Schroeder. I think he's good. I think that they got a steal. A lot of people are clowning Dennis because of what he did. He turned down a lucrative deal, thinking, he bet on himself. And here's the thing. He bet on himself and ended up failing. But he's not failing. Here's a lesson learned. Dennis Schroeder, when he was with Atlanta, was a huge piece with them a few years ago. With the Lakers, what do you expect him to do? What do you expect somebody like him to do when you're behind Anthony Davis and LeBron, who manage probably 80% of the game with holding the basketball? Everything's flowing through them. You can't expect much. Yeah, Russell Westbrook's going to do pretty well. He's going to get a lot of that. But I think personally, this team is a 7th seed, if not 6th seed. Could be better than the Sixers. I think in a series, they can compete with anybody. You add in Marcus Smart. You add in Josh Richardson, who may start, may not start. He's a great shooter. Dennis Schroeder. Robert Williams III, who just signed an extension. Signed a huge deal. He's 24 out of Texas A&M. I drafted him in my fantasy league. I think if he's given the right amount of time, which he'll get 25 to 30 minutes, I think starting over Cantor and also who else? They have Al Horford, who is gonna flex between the 4 and the 5. I like what they have. I like what they have ultimately around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, because obviously we know those two guys are good. They're not, I wouldn't say 1-2 best in the league like we see with the Nets or with some of the other guys, but with what they have around them and what they're capable of, they're definitely a playoff team. I'm putting them in the 7th seed as much as I do think they could sneak up to the 5th seed.
My 7th seed is the 76ers. I debated placing them top 4, even like at first glance, if they get Simmons. If not, I'm under the same basis where they will not have Simmons. He's not playing. They're either going to suspend him or he's going to be traded at some point. I do not think he's there for the whole season, even if he plays a few games. And Joel Embiid, he's great. He's one of the most dominant centers in the league at the moment. I just feel like around them, they're a solid team with Simmons on the court. He doesn't do a lot of shooting. We saw it in the playoffs. He crumbled there. But I feel like his playmaking and his defensive presence is going to hurt them compared to who else
Absolutely.
they have on their team. And their offense is going to run through that. Joel Embiid could drop 30, 40 points a night still. But he's not in the same position where he will win games in today's style of the NBA, where it's 3-point shooting.
Mhm.
Teams will give up those twos. They'll give up 2 points to Embiid all night. Harris saw him kind of go cold last playoffs. He's always solid. He always puts up all-star caliber numbers or around that, just below potentially. And with Ben Simmons being gone, it hurts him a ton.
Yeah, well said. I completely agree. I actually think now that you mentioned it, I'm gonna stay with my prediction. I'm gonna put Boston at 6, Sixers at 7. Just thinking about Ben Simmons being gone, I do think that they will compete night in night out because
Mhm.
Embiid can knock down the three sometimes,
And
but
Embiid kind of had injury issues.
and
If they
I
flare
think
up
that's gonna be the
again,
biggest thing is gonna be injuries. So, and if they're not going to compete, why wouldn't they sit him? Because
mhm,
teams do that. So
yeah,
we'll see. But if they end up getting the right price for Ben Simmons, that with for the right player can literally boost this team to a contender. I mean, with
yeah.
Joel Embiid being Joel Embiid. Who do you have for number 8?
It's gonna be fun to talk about our number 8s because it's a toss-up. You just pick a team.
This is the toughest one for me.
So I almost went with the Pacers. Why? I don't know. I just feel like they're solid enough to make it,
Hmm.
but I'm gonna go with the Knicks. I almost went the Pacers because I thought they dropped off. They did lose a couple of people, didn't really matter. I also don't think they're gonna replicate what they did last year. I don't think Julius Randle is gonna put up the exact numbers he put up last year. Are they gonna have I don't think Quickly's with the team anymore. If he
I
is, whatever. I don't feel like their support players are gonna put up the numbers and play as well as they did last year for that 5th seed push. They were the 4th seed, right?
They were 4th seed last year,
Yeah,
but
I don't see them making that push. But the addition of Kemba Walker, I think they still hover in the playoffs.
yeah, I agree. They're my 8th seeded team, and I have to have some notables in there. It's tough because there's teams that could sneak into the 8th seed, such as Charlotte. If Lamelo does have a crazy sophomore year, he could sneak up. He could definitely sneak up. The Pacers, I think the Pacers have some pretty good upside. I love Domantas Sabonis. You obviously have Malcolm Brogdon, who's pretty damn good guard for them. TJ Warren, never know what you're gonna get with him. And I think the biggest X factor is Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert was a huge addition to that team. Obviously was a part of the trade when I think for the Oladipo trade.
Mhm.
Karis LeVert, and he missed a lot of games. He had an issue with like a tumor or something. He had to get removed, and he missed. He missed a lot of time. He's back, 100%. You add in Miles Turner at center. I like this team. It's just I don't see the Knicks. doing better than what they did last year, but they're not going to be much worse. For me, the Knicks, the X factor, obviously, I think it's a given that we are going to see Julius Randle put up good numbers. Julius Randle is a very good basketball player. I think the biggest thing for me is, when is RJ Barrett going to live up to the hype? I don't know.
Yeah.
He's putting up, he's scoring. He's doing okay. And you know what? Actually, for his role right now, not being the number one, it's pretty good. But I will give the Knicks I'll call them a playoff team. I think the addition of Kemba Walker, he's only 31 years old. He's gonna be able to facilitate. You have Kemba Walker, you have Derrick Rose, might be running the two. We don't know who's gonna truly be starting at the two. You have RJ Barrett. You still have Obi Toppin, who I thought Obi Toppin had a couple of good games to where we're like, okay, he's not just athletic, he can actually hoop a little bit. And then Mitchell Robinson at center and Julius Randle and then Mitchell Robinson, I think is going to be a huge, huge, huge. If he is healthy this year, I think Mitchell Robinson is going to compete for Defensive Player of the Year.
This is
Just because
Robinson's last year.
I think he's on a 1 year. I think he has 1 year left. Mitchell Robinson,
Ooh.
what's his contract? I don't know. He's 3 years in the league, so this would be year 4, I believe.
Because in 2K, he was an agent after this.
Then
Not
yeah,
this year, but like
he's got to be a free agent after this year. I'm not sure exactly. He was drafted in 2018, so that sounds about right. He's good, but the thing is he going to stay on the court? If he stays on the court with Thibodeau being the defensive-minded coach that he is, I can see this team actually competing and being a serious 8th seed, if not 7th seed. Now, again, I do think that they were one of the worst teams in the playoffs last year. They weren't the team that their records said that they were, clearly. And I do think that they are an 8th seed, but they're going to have a tough time solidifying that 8th seed with between them and either the Pacers or one of the other 7th-seeded teams. It's going to be tough for that 7th, 8th spot. Given that we don't know what the Sixers are going to do. Charlotte might sneak up. I like Charlotte. I think that they're about 2-3 years away from contending. So that's our top 8. He is a free agent after this season, by the way,
okay.
Unrestricted. That's huge. Actually, oh man, free agency this upcoming is way better than what it was this past season. I can't wait for it. So now we got the top 8 in the, I almost said the AFC West. In the Western Conference. I think you started. I'll start this one. I don't know if it's obvious, but I'm going with the Lakers for obvious reasons. They're in the West. I think that they are better than any team that was in the playoffs last year when it comes to the West. I think that the only reason why they didn't get anywhere was injuries. Anthony Davis couldn't perform. He got hurt in the series against Phoenix. Phoenix had to walk in. I think healthy, with the addition of Russ, you can not rely on LeBron to facilitate as much. There's going to be games where they get early leads. They can sit them. Anthony Davis is going into the season healthy, completely healthy, like the rest of the guys. But the addition of Russ, and I do not think that it's a bad addition. I think when you think of guys that have joined, you have Russ. You have, like Russ was with Durant. You have Chris Paul was with Harden. You have some other duos. Like, I'm trying to think of other duos, but nobody has ever joined LeBron and they didn't dominate. Ever. So that's part of my reason why I'm sticking with the Lakers to take the number 1 seed, assuming all is well with health.
Okay. I'm going with the Jazz. They were the 1 seed last year. They've always been a solid regular season team. I think they still have a majority of players that they had last year. And in the regular season, they're going to take care of what they have to do. I think their division as well Let me take a look at their exact division. They play with the Thunder, they play with the Timberwolves, they play with the Trailblazers. Nuggets are going to be up there, but they could easily take 8 games from the Timberwolves and the Thunder in general. And then they got other weaker teams in the Western Conference. Obviously, play the East. They're going to beat majority of the East teams.
I like your
So,
pick.
speaking
I
of the
like your
regular
pick.
season, I think it's just going to be the Jazz.
Okay. Okay. Who's your number 2?
Going with the Nuggets. They do not have Jamal Murray as of yet. I still think they are a very solid team, but I'm pretty sure his will return at some point during the season.
Jamal Murray, we don't know what the return is going to be yet. He's coming off of the torn ACL. He got hurt in the regular season. They are expecting him to make a return. I would not be surprised if it's going to be around that 1 year mark. I think he tore it in April of this past season. Usually the timetable is about a year, if not a little bit more, depending on how the recovery goes. I would say he returns towards the end of the season, as they to get a few games under his belt, assuming his health is good. Let him get a few games under his belt before the playoffs. But I do agree with you on that one. I have Denver as the number 2 as well.
Yeah, and they have a solid cast. MP Michael Porter is going to be solid. They have Jokic, Aaron Gordon, solid player. Will Barton always plays solid. They picked up a couple nice role players in Jeff Green and Austin Rivers. So playoff
Yes,
time, they're going to be
yes.
nice guys coming off the bench. And again, they play in Denver, so they are used to playing at home. Denver is always going to be a great regular season team in basketball because they run the floor on their home court. They win so
Hmm.
much, and they're in the same division as the Jazz. I think they're going to beat up on a bunch of teams.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's so many reasons why I'm going with Denver. Obviously, they have Nikola Jokic, who won the MVP. As you mentioned, they added Jeff Green, um, Will Barton. I still like Will Barton. I think he still has the potential at 30 years old. He's still, I would consider, in his prime years. Usually get that 26 to 30, 31. Um, Jamal Murray will come back eventually. Aaron Gordon, you get a boomer bust with him. He's only 26 years old, so I like him. You add in, I think the biggest X factor is going to be Michael Porter Jr. He's only 23. He's gotten better every single year. He averaged 19 points a game last year. I I believe Michael Porter Jr. is going to average at least 25 points a game this year. I think Michael Porter's a great spot up shooter. He's going to grab the boards, but I do think he's going to score a decent amount of points for this team. I think he's going to do extremely well. And then, as you mentioned, they have Austin Rivers as well, who he's pretty good off the bench. I mean, he's a veteran. He's somebody you want on your team. So Denver is my number 3. My number 4. I'm
3.
sorry, my number 2. My
You're
number 2.
number
My number
2.
2. My number 3 is Utah.
Okay.
Everything you said about Utah being number 1, they could be a number 1 seeded team. I just think fully healthy, the Lakers are the better team. I have nothing bad really to say about Utah other than they're going to be a fun team. I think the biggest thing is Conley's another year older. Yeah, they added Rudy Gay, but he's also 35. They do have good defense. The offense is good. Jordan Clarkson is good off the bench, 6th man of the year. They they went out and they grabbed Bogdanovich. I think they had him last season. He's pretty good scorer. Donovan Mitchell, he shows up and he shows out every game. I think to me, Donovan Mitchell is one of the better steals in the draft in the last few years. And then obviously Rudy Gobert's always defense player of the year. They have Hassan Whiteside coming off the bench, who could end up only playing 15, 20 minutes, but still grab 8 boards just because he's so good at rebounding. So they are good inside out. I like this team. But I still think the Lakers and Denver have a little bit more to offer um, than Utah.
My number 3 is the Lakers. So we pretty much have the same top 3, just ordered differently. I
Hmm.
am playing the injury slash they are old team. They're probably going to sit out some games. Gonna be some nagging injuries probably coming about. Also, they do have a solid team. They have 3 legit like superstars, which helps them out. But like tonight's starting lineup was like Westbrook, Kent Bazemore, who I don't know if should be a starter still, LeBron, AD, and they had DeAndre Jordan starting, and he's kind of like not a starter caliber we saw with the Nets last year. But for the main part, I just feel like they're old or they're on the older side. There's a lot of old guys on that team, and they do have a lot of guys who do have some injuries that cause them to miss games. So if they fully healthy, I'd put them number 1, but I am playing the injury bug card right there.
I I I agree. The injury old. Here's the thing about Russ. Russ, I was just looking at his splits. I know he's 32. He's been in the league a little bit. He played almost the whole season last year again, it was in the East. It's a completely different conference, but nonetheless, he averaged like 36 minutes a game, which is huge.
Yeah,
Say he
he's
only
an
gets
Iron Man.
32, 33. The biggest, like you said, the biggest thing is going to be what nights is LeBron going to get off? What nights is Anthony Davis going to get off? The thing about Anthony Davis, if he's healthy, should not be getting nights off simply because he's only 28 years old.
And
But
he's been missing games in the past.
you got to protect your assets. Yeah, you got it. And he's done. And it's not just with the Lakers. He was doing it with the Pelicans too. So I agree with you. I still think that Kent Bazemore is worth a start simply because he's probably going to fit in pretty well. Defensively, he's pretty good. I think they just waived Avery Bradley. I could be wrong. They have some other guys too that can fill in. I thought Malik Monk should be a starter. He's only 23 years old, even though it feels like he's been in the league since he was, I don't know, for the last 10 years.
Mm,
Um, yeah, no, you make a good point though. I think the biggest thing is, are these guys gonna play the full season? If not, yeah, those games they're probably gonna lose.
yeah, like they have Carmelo who they picked up. He's been solid the past few years. Trevor Ariza has always been a solid role player. It's just, are they going to continue it? If they
Absolutely.
do, cool. But with age, you're just always unsure at the beginning of a season.
Agreed. Who's your four?
My number 4 seed is the Suns. As much like I don't think they will make it back to the finals this year. Think their lineup is still solid enough to finish in the top half of the West.
I
Chris Paul, game
Yeah.
manager, another year older for Devin Booker. DeAndre Ayden's contract year. Is this his contract year or are they still a year off?
I know that they couldn't get him extended. What is his contract?
I'm going to
So
assume it's over after this year because they could not get him
yes, I believe you are right.
he has a
Yeah,
he has a qualifying offer potentially next year,
mhm.
but he's and then he's a restricted free agent besides that. So they potentially could take him back because of that.
Yeah,
But they have
but he's there
Aiden.
this year.
Yeah, he's there for this year. Didn't really lose much. They're still a younger team, getting a little older.
That's that's my four. My four is the Suns. I think they are good. I'm not going to take anything away from their playoff run, which I thought was on the easier side. I still think Chris Paul is going to be a game facilitator. He's excellent. He proved in the finals he can still compete with the best of them. Devin Booker's another year older, another year wiser. He's still an elite scorer, and I wouldn't say he's a playmaker, but if he can stay a little on the consistent side, shooting the deep ball, I think bound to have a breakout year this year is Cam Johnson, simply because in the playoffs he was lights out from downtown. But I like Phoenix at the 4 seed. I think that's a pretty fair seed for them, considering how tough this West is. My
Number
number
5.
my number 5 is going to be, I'll go first for this one. I'm going Dallas.
Okay.
I think Dallas is still like, they're, as long as Luca's there, as long as Kristaps is there, and I don't think Kristaps is as much of a game changer as he should be or could be. They compete night in, night out. They did extremely well in the playoffs. I thought they could have went deeper. Luca is only getting, I don't want to say older, but like, what is he, 21, 22? He's been in the league, it seems like forever at this point. He's only getting better. I think that if the Dallas Mavericks, the 5th seed is the best I can do, because after that it comes down to 6th, 7th, and 8th seed, and I feel like those guys are grouped separately. I feel like Dallas is right there, perfect fit for another. They were a 5th seed last year. I think they are going to compete. I think they're going to do great things. Luca's going to put up his numbers. And with them, then Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway, we'll see how Hardaway's season goes. I think that they'll be good enough to solidify that 5th spot.
I almost slotted the Mavericks like 2 minutes ago into the 5th seed, but I left this team there. I'm just going to go with the Warriors. Might be too high of a pick for them because of the uncertainties with how good their team is going to play in general. We know Steph's going to play phenomenal. It's just how well will Clay play when he comes back, and are they still going to have that same flair with both of them on the court? They don't have
Yeah.
like what made that team successful in the past was they also had a great bench around them, and they had good big men to get boards and help them out. But I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like 5 through 8 could be a shuffle. It's
Absolutely.
there's a lot of great teams in the West, but there's also pieces missing from all these teams, and it could shuffle them around if you want. I just said 5. It might be a little too high. 6 or 7, probably a more realistic spot, but who knows? This is a prediction.
It's a bold prediction. I like it. I think my biggest thing why I didn't throw them up there, and again, it 5, 6, 7, 8, it's got to be right there. My biggest thing is, when does Klay Thompson come back? Does he sync back up with Steph Curry, which I think he will. Draymond's still there. He's healthy. My biggest thing is like, all right, James Wiseman, when is he coming back? Torn meniscus last year. He is going to come back. Meniscus is not as serious as the ACL. He had his surgery. He's been rehabbing. Eventually he'll come back. It all depends on how these guys click, but I just couldn't pull the trigger on putting them in the 5th spot. They're going to the playoffs for me, though.
Okay.
Who do
What do
you
you have
have at
6th?
6? I'll let you lead
Okay.
6.
I have the Mavericks.
Okay.
I almost slotted them in the 5. It's, will Luca take that next step up again? Is the team around him going to play as well as they did last year? Kristaps going to play well? Like, what's going to happen with that team? Does they make a trade at some point? Does Kristaps get angry and they trade Kristaps for some other star, or like another second option? I'm not too sure. But the Mavericks, they're going to be solid in general, and they're going to be a threat in the playoffs. 5, 6, I feel like it's their ceiling for now.
I think that's a good take. For me, it was like Dallas is, they're there. They're gonna compete. They're 5th, 6th seed. My 6th seed, I have Portland. Why? Just simply because Dame is able to get this team to the playoffs. Generally speaking, I like the combo of Dame Dollar and, I call him Dame Dollar. Dame Dollar and CJ McCollum. I know last year they finished in the 6th seed, which is where I have them falling back again. It all depends. They added, they have Larry Nance. CJ McCollum obviously is good. Dame Lillard's good. We could talk about those guys. Robert Covington defensively is really good. Could shoot the three ball as well. Let's not forget they still have Norman Powell, who with Toronto was scoring buckets. I think they have a lot of little weapons scattered around the big two that they have. And then they have Cody Zeller running the center. I don't know if he is going to start. I don't know who else would start at center for this team. Oh, I'm sorry. They have Nurkic right in front of my face. His numbers were a little off last year. He didn't do a whole lot. He averaged like 11 and a half. I don't even think he played the whole season. But I do I think he's a great center. I think he's going to be good for them. He played 37, so he definitely missed some games. I think he's gonna do well enough for them to compete. Let's put it that way. So I put them at the 6th seed.
What do you have at 7?
7 is Golden State. Pretty much for the same reason. I think that Steph Curry is gonna give them a chance to compete night in night. Eventually, they will get Klay Thompson back. Hopefully, headband Klay, because watch out. And it all depends on how they click. They could potentially be better than a 7th seed. But again, it all comes down to the timing of the return of Klay Thompson, the timing of when he syncs up with them, and James Wiseman. And like I said, Steph Curry, you know what you're going to get. Draymond, you know what you're going to get. They have Jordan Poole, who looks pretty damn good, has the last couple seasons. So I'm going to say they're in the playoffs. I'm going to give them the 7th seed.
I have the Trailblazers in the 7th seed.
Okay. So we have pretty much 5, 6, 7 is like practically the same. Kind of like what we did with the East.
I did have the Trailblazers 8th, but I had to move the 7th seed down to the 8th seed after taking a look at their roster right now.
Okay. Who is your 8th?
I went with the Clippers.
Okay.
I would, as I mentioned, I did have them in the 7th seed, but like comparing rosters to the Trailblazers, I don't know if Paul George can like carry this team any higher. They don't have Kawhi Leonard, but like looking at their team, Marcus Morris Sr., okay. Batum, okay. Bledsoe, iffy. Serge Ibaka, iffy. Reggie Jackson was cool last year. He was nice. Luke Kennard's good shooter.
Terrence Mann.
Zubac, Winslow. I don't know. This team on paper is just not as great without Kawhi
without
Leonard.
Kyrie. Yeah, without Kawhi, I agree. So I agree 100%. So I put 2 teams in the 8th seed just because I don't know who to pick. The Clippers, I think when they were clicking in the playoffs, they played well. Terrence Mann, there was a couple good games where he got the time and he did well. He could step in and help the team win. The first team I put for the 8th seed is Memphis. I put Memphis in there simply because they are another year older. Ja Morant's another year older. He's only 22 years old. He's again year over year. Has a lot of time to be considered one of the best in the game. He's not yet, but I think that he's very, very close. You add him, Brandon Clark, who is also, this whole team is so young and talented. Dylan Brooks has great offensive games. This team obviously is a defensive-minded team. Let's not forget that they also recently got Steven Adams, who I think was part of the trade. It was Steven Adams for Jonas Valanciunas, which I think was great for both teams. I like Steven Adams. A lot. I think he's going to fit in with this Memphis, this like very grind hard defensive team. I think he's good. And let's not forget the man that is very young, 3-year pro, might be seeing him start to take off in the league, Jaren Jackson Jr., who just got a huge extension. I think if not this year, his breakout year is coming up. I actually think Memphis, now that I'm looking at it, Memphis will beat out the Clippers for the 8th seed, hands down.
Yeah, I'll stick with what I said, but I forgot about Memphis.
Yeah, just
I didn't
looking at their
realize how
team,
close they were.
dude. Jaren Jackson starting at the 4. You have him at the 4, Steven Adams at the 5, and their bench, Brandon Clark coming off the bench, which Brandon Clark can he's 6'8", so I don't know if they want to throw him at the 3, but based on his height, he could play the 3 or the 4. And then you add in Tyus Jones, um, obviously the John Morant. They got some talent. This team is super young. Nobody on this team is 30 years old. I think they're doing well. And Memphis, I've always looked at it as a franchise where I'm like, oh my god, they suck. They usually have talented guys, but they can't do anything ever. But I like what they're doing with this foundation. I think what they're doing is what the Pelicans tried to do, and now they're kind of like at the bottom. I don't want to say the bottom of the barrel because you never know with Zion and what that team could do. But I like Memphis as the 8th seed.
So that's our 8 seeds for the East and the West. Our finals matchup. Who do you have?
Finals matchup, I feel like it's a given. So it's assuming Kyrie is out the whole season. That's the assumption. I am going to go Milwaukee is going back simply because I just don't know who is ever going to stop Giannis unless I'm not going to say it, knock on wood, there's an unfortunate event. Versus the Lakers. Bucks Lakers, and it is going to be a crazy series to watch. It is going to be nuts.
That's the dream. That would be the dream matchup, especially if everyone's healthy. I just went a little bit different. No other reason than being different. I still have the Bucks. Don't really have a team that beats them out, but I went with the Nuggets, the finals. I feel like they got kind of close last season. They lost to the Suns, but getting Jamal Murray back towards the playoffs, I could feel like they could make a trade or so. They're just off, and playoffs. NBA, it's a little more predictable. It's not like baseball or football where anything can happen. It's a little can kind of determine the series. I don't know. The Nuggets would have to squeeze out some games here and there, and you'd have to rely on the Lakers just crumbling in some portion with injuries or just they don't play well or something. I don't know. But I just want Bucks Nuggets. The West Conference didn't really bother me anyways because my champion was probably going to be Bucks
Hmm.
regardless.
That's yeah, I have Milwaukee winning. I just don't I mean the biggest X factor is Giannis. And if LeBron pulls off the series, say in like 6 games or 7, say it's competitive. And I know a lot of people are like, "Whoa, everybody had to join the Lakers." I don't think you understand truly the talent that Giannis possesses. He is they like nobody can stop him. No, like a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's a truck running through." No, it's not just that.
Yeah.
You're talking about a guy who takes 1-2 steps from the 3-point line and he has a filthy Euro step. Filthy. You can't stop it. He is arguably the most dominant player that the game has seen in a very long time. In a way that LeBron was dominating for a while. Granted, he was
Mhm.
dominating the East. I know there's always an argument. LeBron haters, rah rah. But the way Giannis is dominating is something we haven't seen in a very long time. So that's why I think if the Lakers do win, we got to give LeBron his credit because this will be one of the toughest finals for LeBron. Granted, he's lost some finals, but I think this one here, a Giannis in his prime, is like kryptonite to every team. Every team. So I'm with you on that. I'm going to go
And the
Milwaukee over the
matchups would be
Lakers.
great. You would have Drew Holiday on Russell Westbrook. You'd have Middleton or Giannis on LeBron. You'd probably
Yeah.
switch back and forth. You'd have Giannis could guard Anthony Davis. Wow.
Or when he comes back healthy, wait, is he there? Is Bobby
Bobby
Portis
Portis.
still?
He did
Yeah.
not play right now or
Okay. Okay.
today. He was
I,
suited. He was in a suit tonight.
He's
game.
missing a couple games, they said. They said that in preseason, but he
I feel like
brought
their bench players and their role players are better than what the league.
yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be that is gonna be, I'm telling you, every single game I'm watching, and I'm telling you right now, Healy, if this is the damn finals matchup and we don't go to a finals game in Milwaukee, I can't be friends with you anymore. I can't be friends with myself. Who is your, and I think we talked about this, who is your MVP pick?
I don't think voter fatigue will affect this season. This is also a gimme pick, but I don't see anyone coming close. You could have Jokic having another insane season, but I'm going Giannis. I think he's going to win his third MVP. I think he won back to back, and then this would be number
And
3.
then lost. Yeah. Because he could have won it last year too. I do agree with you. I'm gonna switch it up. So my MVP, depending on the year that the team does, assuming if they can somehow slide into the top 4 and be better than what we assumed, I'm gonna go Luca.
Ooh, okay.
Luca's gonna be my pick. Without Kyrie, Kevin Durant very well could. He's
Yeah,
gonna be in the spotlight simply because of Kyrie.
I picked him
He ain't
last
gone.
year. This is like my Shohei prediction. I was like, I don't want to go KD because I picked him last year, but is this the year he'll do it? I don't care, but I'm going Giannis. Yeah, KD is up there, especially with how well he performed in the playoffs last season or a couple months ago.
Absolutely. It should, if he plays the way he's been playing, it should go to Giannis. But I'm gonna go with Luca or Kevin Durant. Give me Luca. Give me Luca. Flip a coin.
I just felt like with Luca, the NBA relies so much on record that it's not his year yet.
Yeah, my thing was if he can somehow get them to the top 4, because when you're top 4, you're essentially that you're looked at as the best in the conference, generally speaking, not always. So if he can somehow get them to the top 4, that's what I was saying. But Kevin Durant, I'm gonna stick with Luca. I'm sticking with Luca.
Okay.
Only because there's so much hate on Luca. I see people hate on Luca like it's their job, and they don't realize this kid is barely old enough to
Yeah,
drink. Probably just grew chest hair for the first time.
I don't get why people are like writing him off and hating him so much. Dude, if you aren't watching him like and seeing his growth, you're missing out.
You're missing out. It's simple as that. But that's gonna be our predictions. We're gonna put a poll out. We're gonna think of a poll for you guys. We want to stay interactive with you guys. We do enjoy the feedback we get. So check us out on Twitter if you're not following us. Make sure you follow us there. We're on TikTok as well. Been uploading here and there. We're gonna upload some more. Be on the lookout. I got some FanDuel lineups. I always talk about NFL daily main FanDuel lineups. I'm okay, but when it comes to the NBA, I thrive. Generally win. No joke. You can see my posts. Not one to brag, but I've scored over 400 points a couple times, which is big. 400 points wins most big prizes. I just, haven't won those big prizes yet. No shame. But make sure you guys are following us. We are SR Only Pod. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok as well. We can follow our personal accounts. I'm iGoose with 4 O's, and we also have Healy.
I am at the Healy6 on Twitter and Instagram.
And we'll see you guys next week. We got the World Series coming around.